We have a lot of people, as you know, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect.
That statement sends China into a frenzy, who sends a chilling warning to the United States about the blockade. Let's dive in. China just sent a warning to the United States. And this time, it is not subtle. As tension rise in the Strait of Hormuz, Beijing is now stepping in, telling Washington to back off and avoid escalating the situation. But here's what makes this different. This isn't just about Iran anymore. Because when China starts drawing lines, the stakes go global. And what happens next could affect far more than the Middle East. Times of India broke the story a few hours ago. Watch this.
Into the heart of West Asia's most volatile flashpoint. Admiral Dong Jun, China's defense minister, declared that Chinese ships are moving in and out of the Strait of Hormuz as tensions swirl around Iran and the world's most critical oil artery. Framing the moment as a test of resolve, Dong signaled that China will protect its trade lifelines and honor its energy agreements with Iran, while warning outside powers against interfering in China's bilateral affairs. The remark landed as a blunt diplomatic cue. China intends to stay present, visible, and unbowed in waters that have become a geopolitical pressure cooker. Speaking publicly on Sunday, Dong said Beijing is closely monitoring developments across the Middle East, with particular focus on the Hormuz Passage that funnels a significant share of global oil and gas shipments. He stressed that Chinese commercial and naval traffic continues to pass through the strait without disruption, underscoring how essential the corridor is to China's economy and energy security.
When China's geopolitical interest is threatened, China will not stand back and let Iran fall because it buys most of its oil from Iran itself. So here is the situation. The US has been considering stronger action in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical oil routes in the world. But China is now pushing back. Officials in Beijing are warning against any kind of blockade, saying it would threaten global trade and destabilize the region. In other words, China is telling the US, do not push this any further, because of this statement that Donald Trump made recently.
We have a lot of people, as you know, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil.
And that matters because China isn't just any country in this situation. It's one of the largest buyers of Middle Eastern oil. It has deep ties with Iran, and it has growing influence on the global stage. So when China speaks here, it is not just diplomacy, it's a signal that it's willing to step in and defend its interests. And this is where things start to shift. Because now, instead of just a US-Iran situation, you have a potential US-China tension point forming in one of the most sensitive regions in the world. And history shows when major powers start drawing lines like this, things can escalate quickly. Not always into war, but into pressure, standoff, and global uncertainty. And right now, that is exactly what we're seeing.
By highlighting uninterrupted maritime movement, Dong projected confidence that China's access remains intact despite the rising rhetoric and military posturing in the region. The minister also emphasized China's long-standing trade and energy agreements with Iran, stating that Beijing will respect and honor those commitments. In the same breath, he cautioned other nations to not meddle in China's external relations, a phrase that analysts read as a pointed response to Western pressure campaigns and sanctions regimes that often complicate commerce with Tehran.
Russia also steps in this situation with a stern warning to the United States.
With tensions escalating in the Strait of Hormuz following America's latest threats, fears of global economic shockwaves are mounting once again. And now, Russia is stepping in with a stark warning. The Kremlin spokesperson issued a cautionary note on April 13th to the U.S. as the American military's naval blockade of Iran took effect after the deadline set by Donald Trump passed. Dmitry Peskov said a blockade on Iran's ports and coastline is almost certain to hit global markets. He refrained from making any further comments due to what he said was lack of clarity on the declared U.S. plan.
Well, most likely such actions will continue to negatively affect international markets. This can be assumed with a significant degree of certainty, but many details here remain unclear, incomprehensible. Therefore, I would now refrain from any substantive comments.
Separately, speaking to the press, he said that Russia hopes the latest standoff between the U.S. and Iran won't push the two rivals towards an armed conflict once again.
But the situation is still very far from being resolved. We can only hope it doesn't escalate to an armed...
The chilling warning from Russia came as the United States president announced it will block shipping traffic in and out of Iranian ports at 10 a.m. Washington time on April 13th. A move observers say could cut off nearly 2 million barrels of oil per day from global markets.
So the question is no longer just about Iran. It's this. What happened when China decides that the US has gone too far? Equally so Russia. Because if this line gets crossed, it won't just be a regional issue anymore. It becomes global. And we may be watching the early stages of something much bigger. Let me know what you think. What is your view? Let's sound off in the comment section. Is this just a warning or the start of something much more bigger? So I'd like to thank you very much for your time, and I shall see you on the other topic.